Fire in Little Africa by Fire in Little Africa. On the 100th year anniversary of the massacre in the Greenwood area of Black Wall Street, artists from the area came together for this album. This album features 60 artists, poets, and musicians. The album was recorded over 5 days. With all of that, how did the album come out? How do we feel about it? Here's our honest review of Fire in Little Africa by Fire in Little Africa.
Fire in Little Africa. Bruh, I don't know how. I can't remember how I stumbled across it. I know I saw it that morning. I was like, it's an hour and some change. Chill. I'm about to go on vacation. I don't want to be consuming all that right now. And then not only that, I thought it was a whole bunch of little dudes, some little homies. I thought it was about to be some reckless talking. But soon as I looked at the title again, I was like, Fire in Little Africa? Are they talking about Black Wall Street?
Then you said you saw a tweet too, right?
And then I saw a tweet from somebody that just mentioned it.
Yeah.
And then like somebody respectable, it might have been like Ebro, had tweeted about it. And I was just like, yo, I'm going to check it out. And I was, soon as the first song came on and I heard Elevator, she gave me head in the I was just like, they talking about fucking Black Wall Street, bro. 100% factual Black Wall Street. I know that's what they talking about. How you feel about this album artwork, man?
I feel like it's iconic, and I love everything about it. Just a real dope posse photo, just real at home. I love how it's constructed. Just really iconic to me.
Yeah, man. It's I think this is the house that Felix Jones bought. It used to be owned by a Confederate like sympathizer, one of the richest white guys, racist slave owner.
I just noticed that
it's not actually there.
I just
they kind of put it on top of a Black Wall Street when it was burnt down picture.
Yeah,
interesting. But yeah, I think this is Felix Jones' current house now, and looks like we got all the artists kind of like just chilling out here on the front. The flow of this project, man.
How can you even describe it? Because
I don't know. I feel like there's multiple ways to talk about this project. I want to talk about the music, and I want to just talk about what happened as well as the implications for if what happened never happened. These people would probably be like successful business owners, like handed down from their parents and everything like that.
Let me just say that when you told me about this, you were like, "Hey, man, you listened to it yet?" And I was like, "No, I'm not yet." And you were just like, "Yo, gotta listen to it." I don't think you emphasized it enough. Cause that Sunday, was it Sunday night or Monday morning, I put it on and I was just like, damn. Like just from Elevator and on, I'm just like, okay. Like the whole project, I just got this feeling of like, this is something different. So that's the whole flow of me. Like it's just special. Like the whole time you're listening to it, at least for me, I was just like, this is something with a lot of care, thought, and just really, really creative process to it.
So highlights. I feel like it's tough to talk about a lot of these records only because there's so many artists and I don't necessarily know who was doing what on the track, because you have the names of the artists like regardless, Buy a Little Fire in Africa, Jacob Ryan and Young D featuring, and it's just like, so who was on the track and who wasn't? You know what I mean? So it got a little confusing for me, but I will go over songs that I really love. So Elevator, everybody involved on this song smashed it. Loved it. I love the vibe. Now, I don't know if Dickie Rowe actually got head from this girl on the elevator.
It was just, I guess.
I assume they were just kind of modernizing the story a bit. Kind of like, just little white lies to kind of make the story sound interesting. Because they talked about it on multiple songs. So I was just like, do they know something we don't know?
It's a lot of stories. I took the time to look up the supposed stories of what happened, everything. A lot of other people don't know. They really don't know. So I
mean, they know that he fell on and kind of bumped into her on the elevator and she spazzed out.
Yeah.
But
so it was a great way to open it up to, start the process of the album flow. I like that.
Yeah. So Elevator was on point. Love the way they established that. And like the first couple songs, 100% just established what started the whole incident. And, City of Dreams, and like, you know, the way he wakes up at
The
the
narrative
end of the record.
of it is really constructed well. I like that.
Yeah, Shining is a great kind of like redemption song. The girl that did the poem at the end of the record absolutely smashed the joint. And I just love the way they're handling this song. This is almost like a slight recovery record, kind of like, you know, like this shit ain't happening again. You know what I mean?
I feel that.
Descendants. I just love, I don't even know who said it, but he said something about like something about like his my grandma was a slave, her son is like the boss type. Like, bro, there was so many lines throughout this project where I was just like, yo, they are fucking killing this shit. Like, just knowing what happened and just hearing them rap about it, it's just like I can see the resentment, and you can hear the feeling and the passion in the voices, especially when you get the songs like Reparations, which should happen. Fuck Joe Biden. Nobody want to hear you come there. I'm the first president to recognize this was a massacre. Suck a nut. Fucking piece of shit. Nobody gives a. Are you gonna do something for the people? No. They said Greenwood used to be like 46 blocks, 46 plus blocks. Right now it's 2. They put a baseball field on top of part of Greenwood that was burnt down now. So, you know, the folks are never getting that land back now. But anyway, you can hear the passion on songs like Reparations, on, P.O.D.
Both of them.
Yeah,
one and part 2. Like,
I really, really love part 1 though.
Yeah,
I mean, part
really
2 is fire.
But I love part 1
but
too.
part 1 is just, bruh, that shit is absolute fire. Young and Free was such a great vibe to end the song. But I want to say, I really felt like the song that should be like the anthem for the project is North Tulsa Got Something to Say. Because first of all, homegirl singing on the hook, he really got me in the mood. And that's how I felt the project was. Like, don't get me wrong, Fire in Little Africa is a dope name. But I feel like North Tulsa Got Something to Say is a better title, just because it's telling you, like, you know, we went through this, we're the descendants of those people, and we got something to say. Because we've kind of been forgot about. Mind you, there's little Black Wall Streets all over the United States. It's like, this was just called Black Wall Street because it was probably the most successful one.
Right.
I'm telling y'all, if you Google the Red Summers, and just look at all the black neighborhoods white folks burnt down, and it was not stopped by most of the districts and the people in power at the time. Were there some people that tried to stop some of the stuff? Absolutely, there were a couple. But the bulk and the majority, and don't hit me with that, the white women didn't involve themselves. No, they were involved. And some of them even got their children involved. So it's important that people actually know what's happening. Yeah. Because when we start talking about this stuff, we'll actually be on the same level of knowledge and understanding. Because when you talk to somebody like, hey, man, they really need to get reparations. Well, reparations aren't fit. Motherfucker, do you know what happened? Because if you don't know what happened, like, some people don't even realize, like, the fact that highways are set up in Atlanta the way they are, they were drawn in for racist reasons. The reason the highway system is fucked up, they were trying to segregate the city. But if you look into that, it's going to get really depressing, and you're going to be like, shit, maybe something needs to be done about some of this stuff. But anyway, North Tulsa Got Something to Say. I felt like that was a great record to just to tell you they've been through this, and they got a voice of their own. They don't need the documentaries and all of that to speak for them, because sometimes it's good to hear from the people that come from that area.
Most definitely.
I can name every song in this project, by the way, because I don't feel like there was a bad record on here.
Not at all.
They said they kind of went for a Dreamville, Return of the Dreamers 3
vibe,
that. And I felt like this was the best album done like that since then.
I feel like with this project, for somebody who is not familiar with the Tulsa music scene and everything, all the artists from there, this really got me wondering like what I've been missing out on in a good way, to where it's just like every track I was just like, the amount of, I want to say, what's the word I'm looking for, a matured sound that all of these artists had, authentic, that authenticity they had throughout the whole project. It was just like, why don't I know about these artists? You know, I kind of got that feeling. We listen to a lot of music, but it's just like, why haven't I heard of these guys? And it's just like such a breath of fresh air to hear that. And with the whole narrative of the album being based off of, you know, real events and everything like that, and how they got it to reflect back on how they are descendants of what happened and they are now living this way because of that. It hit me so hard. Like, I forget which song it was. It might have been on POD, but when he just made a small comment like, you know, I'm supposed to be rich, but y'all didn't want it that way. And it's just like, you know, the thought of like so many things of how it should have been for them right now. But then you got like the little interlude where they going, taking the dude's shoes and everything like that. They're living like this because of what happened to their ancestors and everything. They didn't want to live like this. They could have had businesses. They could have been living in wealth and everything, but they've been catered to this lifestyle because of what has happened. And just the whole vibe of that and how the narrative started with Elevator and all throughout, I feel like it was clear from track 1 to track 21? And it never got boring. That's another thing. If it's like, you know, like a Dreamville cut, like it never got boring. There was always something, whether it was another rapper,
Fresh
a
voices,
singer,
fresh sounds.
poet's part or anything that it was fresh all the way throughout. So it's just like, it's hard to talk about individuals, but it's just, the whole thing was just a really, really dope collaboration. And it really opened like my eyes to a lot of things that I didn't like particularly know more details about. It made me want to go and research some more about certain things that they may have been referring to. And it's just one of those projects that you can listen to over and over and always get something back from it, get something new that you didn't catch on before. So all in all, it's just a really well done, cohesive, all-in-one effort that I don't think deserves to be missed by any fan of hip hop, any fan of anything black, anything. You don't want to miss this at all.
I don't have any lowlights, so I'm just gonna continue to talk. and what I mean by that though is like that moment that you're talking about when you're listening to the very first song. If you know what happened at Black Wall Street, you know they burnt down all of those businesses. You know, there was churches, there was schools, movie theaters. There was a bubbling city. They said the money stayed in the black community like for over 1,000 days before it left. Like now they said it stays for like 3-4 hours before it leaves the black community's hands. Back then it was 1,000 and something days. They said that was the longest money was circulating. And we worked together to get things accomplished. They came in, they destroyed it, destroyed all of those businesses, and now, you know, he said, well, my mama is working for low wage, my city's a haven for drug trade. Like, bro, think about that shit, man. This was a bubbling city where everybody was doing well, blue collar jobs, they all work with each other, they all were doing well. Who's to say that one of those guys, electronic companies wouldn't have been what Best Buy was? You know, there's no Fortune 500 company that's owned by a black person on the Fortune 500. If you want to say there's one, you're talking about the lady that's over Walmart. It's a black lady, but she was appointed that position. She didn't like start from owning the business and build it up to that. They appointed her as CEO of Walgreens. I'm talking about a company like Rock Nation didn't make it to the Fortune 500. And besides that, over like since 1921, like this is when companies were starting to be formed, like Ford and all of those companies. Who's to say that these companies that were established in Black Wall Street, who's to say, I can't remember the name of the sneaker store, but if the sneaker store was around, who's to say that couldn't have been what Finish Line was? You know what I mean? Like there's no telling what could have happened. And that's why it's so maddening to listen to him talk about how bad the city is. It's like they did that. Fuck a president coming to speak about it. Don't nobody want to hear that shit. That shit just makes liberals feel good. You know what I'm saying? The ones that get the little Black Lives Matter, I support Black Lives on the front of their lawn, but still, you know, send money to open races and shit like that. This should let you know it's all over the United States. Look at what happened to Compton. If you don't go do your research, if you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, just look up how Compton used to be. They kind of give you glimpses to what Compton used to be like, a little bit in that Hulu show, not Hulu, the Amazon Prime show. But Compton was kind of like a bubbling city. But that's the thing. Black folks didn't really live in Compton like that. They lived in Hollywood. Yeah. I mean, but they got everybody to move out and sell their houses because they were building these great community out there in Compton. And then as soon as they got there, they're like, oh, nah, we're going to buy everything here in Hollywood. And y'all stay there. We're taking all these businesses and y'all fend for yourselves. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It was constantly over and over again, man. Look at East St. Louis and Illinois. Look up some of these places, man. There's places in Florida. There's parts of Georgia. There was race riots in Georgia. They were pulling people off the train and killing them. Like, look this stuff up where black folks were doing fine and they weren't. They didn't like it. And there was black folks weren't allowed to own guns. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to remember these things. If you're like, why didn't they fight? They weren't allowed to own guns. You got to you got to do your research, man. This is a great album, and I feel like this should raise a lot of questions and also just let you know, like, the spirit of black folks just don't die, bro. It's always just reborn into different type of energy, man.
And that leads to my point. I have no lights either. No low lights. The spirit of it all. It is strong through here because, one, you know, I looked up that they did studios with pictures and everything of the times wherever what all the bombings and everything that happened. And I think that's really imperative, not only that there are descendants, but it carries that spirit of the struggle, the everything that happened. And I think that's what's so passionate about this project is the fact that you hear that voice, you hear that pain. It's not a gimmick, you know, it's real. And I think that can speak to anybody that may have come from this type of depression, or anybody have direct family members that they know of and everything like that. That's why it's so strong. And I feel like, in a way, even though it's rooted in a negative and unfortunate event, that they are stronger because of this. And they show it throughout this whole project that they have a voice to speak. They are not going to allow anybody to forget it. They go keep on talking about it. And I think that's what's so strong about this project, is because it's a constant reminder that we can still pull together and be stronger, even though that this bullshit had happened. And I think that's what's so strong about this, that we can compose it in such a way where you can still rock to this, but we go feed you a little bit of knowledge at the same time. And that's what I love about this. It has such a balance to where it's like, you get the songs where it's just like, oh, this is hype, the beat is dope, the flow, but listen to what they're saying and everything like that. And I think you really need to pay attention to the genius in that with all these songs. How many artists are on here? Like over 40?
Well, it said it was over 60 if you count all the engineers and musicians and
this is a labor of love, okay? A labor of love from a team of people who wanted to just make them known, you know? And like I said, my radar is on now. I'm looking out because there's a lot of people on here that really just, you know, surprised me in just in terms of who they are musically and everything like that. And I'm going to be paying attention.
Look, man, final grade. I'm going to give it a check. I thought this project was really good. All the rappers right here, man, really tight. They all sounded on point. The singer sounded on point. I love the poetry being blended in with the records. I love that shit. And this is an unbelievable project.
I've been through it all.
I had 2 weeks to just kind of just sit and enjoy this before we actually reviewed it. It's amazing, man. You should definitely check it out.
Yeah, I'm going to throw out one highlight that I couldn't stop listening to. Been Through It All is an amazing song. Just the harmony and vocals on that and the poetry in the middle, and then they get right back to rapping. But yeah, most definitely a check from me, man. Like I said, check this out. Sit down. Listen. Sit down and listen, then put it in your car and listen. work out and listen. Whatever you're doing, listen to it.
When you get in an elevator, listen to elevator.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying?
That's it.